Good afternoon. It's very rare that you can hear segments of your obituary read in public. Seriously, I am humbled by the kind words. I really don't know how to thank those that spoke on my behalf today. Speaker Shekarchi, my good friend, Senator Lawson, Rep. Kazarian, thank you. Rep. Alzate, that was fantastic. Those are two future young women leaders of this state. It is, I'm an optimistic guy, and that's one of the reasons why. I'd like to thank my Senate and House colleagues who are here today, and all the people that Senator Lawson mentioned. It's humbling to have you all here to support me. The teachers, and there are teachers behind me from our schools. You know, teachers have had a tough go of it during the pandemic. They have worked tremendously hard. They have gone above and beyond. And, you know, I appreciate every day the work that they do to try to make things as normal as possible. So anytime you see a teacher, thank them, because they are working their tails off for our kids in so many ways. I'd like to thank my friends in labor who are here in great numbers. Parents found the pathway through labor. They were both union members. Their jobs provided for me the opportunity that you see here today. They provided for me the chance to become a teacher. They provided for my sister Jennifer the opportunity to become a successful small business owner. I will never forget that, and I will never forget the support that the members of the labor community have shown me since I first started running back in 2012, so thank you. I'd like to thank the event team today. That's Eric Hasselhurst, Brad Default, and Mike Silva, who did a great job putting this thing together. Really appreciate it. I have my family here, my sister's here, my niece is here, my brother-in-law, my uncles, my aunt, my cousins. They are here. My parents are here in spirit. I have an extended family, too, from Algonquin Road, and they are all here, too, where I grew up. And they have been raising me since 1971, and I appreciate it. My girls are watching from Washington, D.C., at Manhattan American University, and they have been tremendous supportive. They've been texting me all day to screw up. Do the best to do that. And my wife, as Val mentioned, was my high school sweetheart. There's proof of that in a yearbook in that library there, where you can look at a much thinner me, but she looks exactly. We chose this location today for a couple of reasons. First off, I spent my entire adult career in that building that's being torn down behind you. I taught civics and history, as you've heard multiple times. It's always been an honor and a privilege for me to be an educator in my community, as well as a coach. In my 32 years in that building, and now in this building, I can count the bad days on one hand. And there's not really many people who can say that. So, I mean, it's a privilege to be a teacher, and I, you know, it's a job I truly enjoy. And I went to work every day, and I continue to go to work every day with that joy. I'm thrilled that I have teachers here supporting me who are my students. That makes me feel good every time I see them. And they tell people, I became a teacher after I was in Mr. Amore's class. That's a humbling thing. They're all good teachers. They're all good teachers. My passion for teaching is directly connected to the subject I taught. To engage students about our collective history and how our government works and how they can access that government and put into action the famous words of our Constitution, "We the people," has been a labor of love for me. The title I am most proud of, aside from Dad, is that of teacher. The other reason we chose this location, you've heard today from the previous speakers. In my role as a state representative, I am grateful, by the way, to the people of East Providence who have elected me to 5 terms. I have tried to serve them as best I can with dignity, diligence, and humility. Of the many policy pieces, many policy decisions and pieces of legislation that I have worked on over these past 9 years, It is the school construction bond that I am most proud of, the incentive program that allowed us to build this magnificent 21st century building and community center. I am proud that in my capacity as chair of the House Finance Subcommittee on Education, I managed the budget article on this investment, the school construction bond legislation, incentive program, the promotion, culminating in overwhelming approval statewide and locally, is a shining example of civic engagement, of good policy that was promoted, passed, and supported overwhelmingly by the public. That's how government is supposed to work. My hope is that every Rhode Island student will be allowed to learn in a facility like this in the future. This is a magnificent place, and every kid deserves this. You know, each day we read headlines about state legislatures proposing or passing laws that limit access to voting. As a student and teacher of our nation's history, I know that attempts, both blatant and subtle, to suppress the vote are in every chapter and verse of American history. And while that story continues in parts of our country, in Rhode Island, Representative Kazarian, myself, and many of our colleagues in the House and Senate have sponsored the Let Rhode Island Vote Act, which expands access to voting by making permanent the voting options available to us during the pandemic. We know for a fact that early in-person voting and voting by mail are very popular across the political spectrum. In 2019, red states used it more than blue states. So we know it's popular. We know it's popular here. We know that it created record engagement and involvement both in Rhode Island and across the country. The pandemic sadly took something from all of us. Some lost jobs, some lost businesses, and some lost loved ones. But one thing the pandemic did not take, because Rhode Islanders would not let it take, was our right to vote. We experienced a fair, free, safe, and secure election, and I will continue to fight to make sure that happens every single election cycle. And speaking of fair and secure elections, the 2020 election, fair and secure, placed a bright spotlight on secretaries of state across the nation. And in a handful of battleground states, those secretaries of state stood firm in the face of intense political pressure, hyper-partisan attacks, and in far too many cases, threats of violence. The job requires a steady hand, the ability to set party politics aside and withstand partisan pressure. It requires the ability to communicate clearly to the public on how our elections are conducted and how they are certified. The secretaries of state, the aforementioned secretaries of state, proved themselves to be true public servants who placed country above party and simply did the job they were elected to do. I believe that in my years in the classroom, as a community volunteer, an athletic administrator, and in my time at the General Assembly, I have proven myself similarly to be a steady hand, thoughtful and measured voice, a clear communicator, and a duty-bound public servant. So, I stand before you today and ask the people of Rhode Island to support my candidacy to become the next Secretary of State of the state of Rhode Island. My passion for and experience in civic engagement and government, my commitment to making it easy for small business owners to start and maintain a business, my heartfelt belief in our first responders. That's not in the speech. My heartfelt belief in public service instilled in me by my parents, a deep reverence for the protection of the most fundamental right of our democracy, the right to vote, has brought me here today, among my family, my friends, former students, colleagues, to officially announce this candidacy. I look forward to this campaign. I look forward to continue to meet, listen to, and learn from Rhode Islanders. We certainly live in unsettled times, but I am ever optimistic that our politics can, as Abraham Lincoln said, reflect the better angels of our nature. I promise, as your next Secretary of State, I will do my part toward that end. Thank you very much for everybody being here today. I am truly humbled. I am truly humbled by your support, and I will be taking questions up front. Thank you very much.